Hello my internet family, my name is Bradston and welcome to episode 3 of the Creating a Unity ML API game series. In today's video, we're starting to get into the nitty-gritty of what it takes to make a Unity ML API multiplayer game. We'll actually be in Unity today breaking down what it takes to make a base Unity ML API project and all the different components we've covered in the previous videos that will really make this possible. If you're new to this series, I really encourage you to go back and check out episodes 1 and 2 because in those videos I cover the basics of what Unity's multiplayer networking is and also what is ML API and the things that you need to know. And quickly, right before we jump to this video, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. It is a huge help for everybody out there who's looking for content like this, helps the algorithm do its work. So please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our Unity project and go ahead and create our first ever Unity ML API multiplayer game. Alright, let's go ahead and get started in creating our base project for our Unity ML API game. So one thing you'll probably notice straight off the bat is that I am starting within a Unity project. I've already started a new 3D project. Like I've said a little bit earlier, my assumption is you know a little bit about Unity, so I'm not going to go through the whole process of creating a new project and so on and so forth. We're just going to go ahead and jump right in. So in order for us to really get started with our Unity ML API project, we're going to need to go ahead and import our ML API networking framework, or more importantly, our netcode package into Unity. So if you've been using Unity for a while, you're probably familiar with the idea of the package manager. And in order for us to use the Unity ML API netcode framework, we're going to need to go ahead and pull that in using the package manager. So in order to do that, first we need to know where we're grabbing our code from to add to our package manager. So let's go ahead and flip on over to the Unity networking API documentation. So if you can see here, I'm currently at docs-multiplayer.unity.3d.com. Here at this website, you can get everything that you need to know about Unity multiplayer networking. I'll personally say that it's not the best documentation I've ever used for a particular framework or code or anything like that, but at a minimum, it will give you the information you needed to get started and also give you detailed information about the different pieces of ML API, different pieces of Unity multiplayer networking, and most importantly, documentation for the APIs and different things that are happening within Unity multiplayer networking. So let's go ahead and get started. In order for us to go ahead and get all the stuff we need into our project, we're going to just need to navigate here to this netcode for game objects drop down and click documentation. Here in this documentation screen, you'll see this getting started with netcode. And really the only thing that matters to us right now is install Unity netcode. On this page titled Install Netcode for Game Objects, you'll see quite a bit of documentation about how do you import or how do you pull in using the package manager, the Unity multiplayer networking. So let's scroll down because as I mentioned, I'll be using Unity 2020, but if you're using 2021, you could follow these instructions, but it's basically exactly the same. So all we're going to really do here is we're going to copy this link, which is com.unity.netcode.gameobjects. This is actually going to be the link to our package Git URL, and we're going to be using this to pull this into our project. So let's go ahead and flip back over to our Unity project. So now that we're in our Unity project, all we're going to do is go up to the top here and click Window. We're going to go to Package Manager and let it kind of load up. So I just want to show you really quickly that the Unity networking is not currently automatically included in Unity as a package. If you were to click in here on the in project and click Unity registry, if you were to scroll on down this list, you notice that the Unity netcode package or the Unity network multiplayer networking package is not actually included in this list. That's why we're going to actually have to use the URL to include it. So all we're going to do is we're going to click this plus in the top left corner of the package manager, and we're going to select add package from Git URL. Once we do that, we're just going to go ahead and paste in here the link that we copied from the Unity documentation page. You'll see here com.unity.netcode.gameobjects, and we're going to click add. So what's going to happen now is Unity is going to go ahead and pull in all of the packages, all of the framework, all of the netcode that we need for creating our Unity multiplayer networking game. Normally the process of importing in the code through the package manager takes a few minutes, and then we're ready to go to start using netcode for game objects. Depending on when you're watching this video, the version of netcode might be different. So right now, just to let you know, I'm using 1.0.0-pre.5. Unity has a pretty good habit of updating the versioning of netcode for game objects, so you may be on a later version of netcode for game objects, and that's okay. It may be a little bit different when it comes to some of the syntaxing down the road, but as far as setting up our base project, what I'm doing today should work for pretty much anybody making a game at any time. So let's go ahead and close this package manager. Now we're all set up to start creating our Unity multiplayer networking game. So what I'm going to show you in the next few minutes here is a very simple process of creating a very basic Unity multiplayer networking game. So what we're going to do is add a few things to our scene and to our project to just show the basics of how Unity multiplayer networking works. Now, as we go through this process, I'm not going to explain everything that I'm doing. I'm just going to show you just the high level of how things work. In the next video, I'm going to really go through the detail of showing you all the different things that we're going to be doing today. And we're going to be doing a lot more advanced things. This is just more to give you a preview into what we'll be doing as we're building our Unity multiplayer networking game. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a very simple add is we're going to add a new game object. We're just going to add a 3D object, which is a plane. That plane will be our game area. And later we're going to have a player that's going to move around in this area. But for now, we're just going to leave it simply a plane sitting in our scene view. So the next thing we're going to go ahead and do is set up our game scene, our game project to start using the Unity ML API networking system. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll up here into our menu and click game object and then select create empty. We're going to go ahead and title this new game object Network Manager. As I've mentioned in my previous videos, Network Manager is what we're going to be using to manage all of the network configurations and the network connections and network settings for our game. So what we're going to do to really start making this work is we're going to go ahead and click up here with Network Manager highlighted, component. We're going to scroll down here to netcode and we're going to add Network Manager. As you'll see now that we've added it, you'll see that our Network Manager script has been added to our Network Manager game object. So once again, I'm not going to go through the details of Network Manager at this moment. I'll do that in a coming episode, but we'll be going through the process of simply how to use a Network Manager to start a simple multiplayer game. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a player into our game scene. So we're going to go up to game object and we're going to select 3D object and we're going to select cube. As you see, a cube is now in our scene. I'm going to go ahead and drag this feller up here just so he's not in the plane. And I'm going to go ahead and name this game object, rename it. I'm going to call it player. So now that we've created our player, there's something that we're going to need to add to our player that's going to be super essential. What that is going to be our network object component. As I mentioned in the previous video, a network object component allows for our object to be used or to be visible across the network when we're using the Unity networking framework. So all we're going to do is we're going to click player, then we're going to go up to component, we're going to go to netcode, and we're going to select network object. As you'll see, the network object has now been added into our inspector view. Now we're going to need to do a few steps to make this particular player object usable in our game. And the first thing we're going to need to do is make this into a prefab. So I like to make a lot of different folders. So I'm going to scroll down here to assets. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say create a new folder and I'm going to call it prefabs. I'm going to go ahead and open my prefabs folder. Once I do that, I'm going to select my player here and drag them down into my prefabs folder. So let's go ahead and remove our player from the scene. You'll see in a few minutes why this matters. But right now we only really need the prefab with a network object associated to it. So let's go here and delete. All right, so we did a few things here, but why does this matter? Let's go ahead and select our network manager. So if we look over here on our right side in our inspector view, we'll notice something that's called player prefab. I'll explain a little bit more about the player prefab in the future, but as you might guess, we're gonna go ahead and drag our player into our player prefab, and it is now highlighted and selected as player. Also, what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down here to where it says network prefabs and we're going to click the plus. You'll see that we have a none game object, and what we're going to do is drag and drop our player into our network prefabs. Now, just as a really brief description, all we're doing is telling our network manager, hey, this is going to be our player object and this player object needs to be tracked over the network. Once again, I'll go in more detail about this when we talk about our network manager in some future episodes, but right now, that's really all you need to know in order for us to get going. Once we've added our player prefab and our network prefab, which is our player, we need to do one more step in order to make sure that our network manager is working. Down here under the general section, we're going to go ahead and select the drop down that says select transport. In here, we need to select UNet transport. If we don't do that, our network manager will not work and we won't be able to do anything. If you look now, you'll see at the bottom that a UNet transport script has been added to our network manager object. We won't be messing with this at the moment, but this is going to really be important in the future. Now with that, our network manager game object is all ready to go, and we can actually start our first multiplayer game. So all we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and press play. Once we press play, we'll be presented with our game view, and all we're going to have in here is an empty plane. Now with our game view active and us still being able to see our network manager in our inspector view, we're going to scroll down here to the bottom and we're going to click the button Start Host. And as you might have noticed, our player just popped into the scene. Essentially what we just did is that we created the network manager, which manages our network. We added a player prefab, which will be the player that the player will be using in the game. And we associated it to being a network prefab, meaning that our network manager object will track that object across the network. And then in our network manager, we went ahead and set ourselves as host, and our Unity networking framework said, oh, a new host is starting. Let's go ahead and add our player into the game. On the most basic level, this is a Unity ML API networking game. But as you may guess, we're going to go a lot further than this. We're going to go a lot deeper. I just wanted to show you the basic steps on how to create a Unity networking game. In future videos, we'll be doing a lot more with a network manager, our player prefab, and all different types of things. This is just once again to just show you, hey, it's pretty simple to put in the basic elements to get a multiplayer game going and to see it kind of in action and playing within our Unity editor. So as you can see, setting up the base project we need for our Unity multiplayer ML API game is not too difficult. It's pretty repeatable and something that every time you go into a project, you'll just repeat these steps and you'll be able to enable the Unity networking framework and the ML API framework without a problem. So overall, today's episode was a pretty brief episode where we just covered some of the basics, but our next episode in the series, we're going to start really getting into what it takes to create a multiplayer game within Unity. To make our jobs easier in creating our multiplayer game as we go further in this series, I'll actually be providing a base game project that we'll all be using to create our game. With this project, we'll be taking an existing single player game and really enabling the ability to use multiplayer. The next episode will be the first step in many in making a great multiplayer game, and I'm super excited to go along this journey with you all. As always, thank you so much for checking out this video, and please don't forget to leave a comment below if you have any questions or anything that you'd like to know as we go through this series. And please don't forget to follow me on Twitter at BradstonDev. My inbox is open and I'm always welcome to questions, so please feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. So until next time, y'all take it easy.